There's been some discussion on torque limiting on helicopters on the forum lately. I thought I'd make this little short video of how B.J. Schramm designed the torque limit into the Helicycle. First of all, there's a clutch here that's belt driven. These belts here are preset to a certain poundage set by this over-center arm here on the clutch. You take this worm drive out, put a fish scale on here and set it to about 45 pounds. And that limits the power going to the main transmission to about 100 horsepower. If you start exceeding that, you'll notice a drop in your rotor RPMs, just a few RPM, and you're just basically asking all it can do. Some guys have tightened their belts. It's real easy to do. Just back out a bolt there, a turnbuckle, and you can set this to say 55 pounds. Yeah, you can go 10 miles an hour faster, but personally, I would rather do it with a fairing, streamlining the swash plate and these fairings on the landing gear to go faster than trying to just tighten the belts. But that's my personal preference. BJ designed this thing, the transmission, to receive 100 continuous horsepower, and that's where I think it should stay at. Anything you exceed doing that, you're just shortening the life of it. There's a when this clutch goes into gear, while I'm here, this is a little micro switch up here that turns the light on in the dash, telling you when it's out of gear. And when it goes down here, this arm here bumps this switch right here, this micro switch, and that tells lights a little green light up in the cockpit showing it's in gear. Belts are tension. This thing's over center when that light's on. Everything's good to go. Now, a few other things about the torque limit. This engine here has a fuel control arm here that you can see here moving right here. There's a set screw back here, and all you got to do, I mean, you can back that screw out, and you can turn this thing way up on horsepower, more so than it needs, and it can use anyway because the belts start slipping. So that's one way we set the power on this thing. I have a personal addition to this thing. If you notice this fuel control arm moving here, this is idle here, all the way back is full power. If you notice these little micro switches, that one micro switch with the red button, I went to my local Radio Shack helicopter supply store and picked up two of the smallest micro switches I could find. What these are doing, I'll turn the power on. When this throttle control arm is about 95% back, I'll go in the dash here and you can see, okay, see that left amber light going on up there at the top of the dash? Right there, that's telling me in the cockpit that engine is about 95% power. And then, if I move it, you can't even see it hardly move, but I move it just about another 1/16 of an inch, and I have another second light come on the dash. You can see the 95% right there. Right there's full power. That's basically just tapping me on the shoulder and saying, no need to apply any more collective. The turbine's doing all it can, so back off a little bit. Since I put this system in about a year and a half ago, I have only seen twice that little light right there, the 95% light. I've only seen it go on twice. Both times were at air shows, the last being at Mentone, that people, including myself, tend to get a little aggressive. I was doing some aggressive takeoffs, and I saw that little light flicker like that, and I just backed off a little bit. I have never seen both of them go on, but I have only twice in a year and a half seen the left one go on, and I love this little system. It just tells me to back off the collective. It's not going to do anything except if I add any more collective after both lights are on, it's just going to start the rotor tach right there on the right will start backing off just a few RPM from the belt slipping. So anyway, it's kind of a handy way of knowing how this torque is controlled on this Helicycle. I've got these little micro switches that I wired to idiot lights, which I named after myself in the dash. Necessity is the mother of invention, and what caused me to put these lights on was that November 11th, 2010 flame out I had. I was exceeding the power getting aggressive, kind of showing the guy a max performance takeoff. I had no light switches or nothing, and I basically just pulled and asked if I'd had the switches on then, I without a doubt would have had both lights lit, and I was still pulling the collective. And I noticed the RPM, rotor RPM, was dropped just a few RPM. I dropped the collective, and the engine idle wasn't set right, and it just bugged and died. I had a left yaw, and then I had to do a run-on landing. Well, that was November 11th, 2010. I ended up flying all winter and into next spring like a grandma. I had no way of knowing the power limits on it. Finally, I had a second one. I was doing another max performance takeoff, and I had another second flame out. Still hadn't fixed that low speed screw, but after the second flame out, I did another auto rotation landing on grass, and I called the factory, and then I called Doug Schwoscher, and we got it figured out immediately over the phone. He did some analysis over the phone, had me do some tests and call him back and tell him what was happening. Found out it was nothing but a set screw on my low idle, which would be this screw right there. There's a little stop right there, and it is basically just turned down too low, and the engine couldn't handle it. The throttle's snapping forward, and it just started to fuel, flamed out twice. Well, then after I figured that out, then I went out and I actually could not get it to stall while I was doing it over the runway. So it seems like it's been working fine since. But then that's when necessity is the mother of invention, and I got these two switches. Now I have the idiot lights in my dash, and I love the little system here. There's a bonus effect that I hadn't planned on when I have my headset on, which I always do. When that light starts to flicker on, it makes a buzz in my headset. So I've got an audible warning in my headset that I hadn't planned for, a little radio interference or something, either from the switch sending out energy or from the light bulb itself up there. I don't know which one it is, but it makes a nice little buzz in my headset, and I don't even have to be looking at my dash. And like I said, I've only seen that left light come on twice in a year and a half, and both times was when I was a little more aggressive, and I love this little system. It keeps me in check, and it's just a nice little addition to the Helicycle. So anyway, that's just all I want to say about the limiting the power. I've got a way of doing it by presetting the tension on the belts. I can watch the rotor tach slip, and I can tell if I'm asking the turbine when I'm delivering almost full power to it by those micro switches. So until I come up with another addition, I think I've got a nice little system going here. So I thought I'd share it with you all, and have a good day.